All right, I was here for everyone about Pinaxtv. This very afternoon we have a lot of updates I day Bremo and the DA. Now, yes, indeed, there has been an article about there is some kind of a warning to Ghana because there has been some aid from the UK to Ghana. So the omo kakra at a point is you want extend a kaya di omo no payment period no ede amaye. Now assembly in says somewhere July 2024 and I prepare akwa to aba says some of the campaign funds are eba to the New Democratic Congress or more as at that time. Or more a flag bearer, President John Dramani Mahama, no na say funds need be free Russia and eba and kind so say. Amid a campaign na no so President John Dramani Mahama nya time out me call Russia call launching the book. The book that was meant for the Ghanaian audience, no, he had a translation, and I said, translate it be into Russia, or call Russia, or call Lanches, a particular book, no. So how or the president of Burkina Faso, we know say he has an allegiance and has an alliance with the Russian government. How on any city at a point I didn't see a kunyaso cry. He was here or buy or be joining a ceremony no my the President John Dramani Mahama AC akunyaso. Na no na ebi mon tiasie say a government or more any Russia or more a dinsa was say a den na UK government no with aid or more with loans any grants any ade make medinka kind no a car the United Kingdom no or more extended a payment period na ede amayen. This is what some people don't understand. Say then and a government or money Russia na Russia buying na UK 4 and I say UK are buying etimi hana or more edi 8 and I say moi edi bre Ghana. So this is what we have on our screens. Matt Wadley. Or they buy the Telegraph or more and so publish here in their newspaper in the Telegraph or more the United Kingdom or more and so I present this kind of write up or more a piece the heat piece or more the ababe to a year or more newspaper and we'll go through and then we'll read why is this particular write-up a hit piece a Telegraph why they are saying say the UK and it was more extended grants and I say and as more funding Ghana BBIA be on the bebo say PM1 ni kwan say UK for the money adentia. So let's take a read on what is on our screens. Also, why is Britain funding Ghana's leftists? Russia sympathizing government. A nation led by John Dramani Mahama is a bad port of call for this country's global re-engagement policy. And he said, trying to talk about the fact that because President John Dramani Mahama is the president of Ghana and they have this kind of alliance with the Russian government, a government that sympathizes and that has this kind of connection with the Russian government. So we'll go ahead and read the full piece. So this is coming from Matt Wadley, UK past UK past soldier, and I say he was part of the army of the United Kingdom. And on the write up, I want the Telegraph more, and mamono. And yes, they don't understand why Ghana's, a government that sympathize with the Russian government, UK 4 a year fund, and I say aid, and as I'm granting aid at the money. So I'll say how far is too far in post-Brexit re-engagement with the wider world beyond Europe. Despite headlines about European research, Labour has carried on Tories' project of flexing economic and diplomatic muscles from Africa to Asia that many thought had long atrophied. Yes, now or Trese, a Labour Party or almost also with the Tories party, or more project, they were flexing economic and diplomatic muscles from Africa any Asia. Adi amount for dodo na who sen kase same radio nka atwam say UK any UK or money Africans. This kind of diplomatic muzzles or rocky with Africa. So let's continue. See, take Ghana. Most of the public think Britain's global reconnect amounts to little more than the high-profile trade deals with the US and India, while Labour merely puts the finishing touches on conservative negotiations. But in the most sophisticated of West Africa's nations, the UK is providing levels of economic assistance that would make the Chancellor's forever repeated guardrails fall straight off any project back home. Yes, now Oche said, at this point, the UK, almost the assistance be about West Africa hanoma at a point in a chancellor no bema near free a project do cost back a year in the United Kingdom. Yes, and your trust will say barely publicized beyond government websites, the UK has agreed to extend by 15 years the repayment period of $256 million Ghana owes Britain, and therefore ultimately the UK taxpayer. The deal also commits Britain to lending more on top to Ghana via UK export credits and writing British businesses to build a series of road and infrastructure projects across the country. Yes, and or say barely publicized. As I said, we can't share our UK or websites any other but United Kingdom or my extending Ghana a car or the UK. $256 million, no, or more extended a year payments a year periods, no, over 15 years, and a day aka or more or see, sad deal when so it commits to lending more on top of Ghana via UK exports a year credit. And Niema Bebre Anna or more are granted to Ghana in monetary terms, but in other kinds with a year like export credits or more they ama a year Ghana for underwriting British businesses to build a series of road and infrastructure a year projects across a year the country. And also British a year businesses do na yatete a year projects ne bono so the ama Ghana for into countries and as a businesses a UK omo ebeye projects e wo Ghana ha say no yatete so bebre the ama this tells the general public say yes indeed the UK is still granting support to the West African country which is Ghana no amount for ntiase say Ghana with this kind of allegiance and I say this kind of sympathy the Russian government still the UK is granting support to Ghana. I say Ghana is not Somalia. It has long enjoyed a reputation for democratic governance, still in addition to owing $256 million to the British exchequer. Ghana is also $261 million in debt to American independent power producers. Liabilities ultimately underwritten by the US taxpayer. It is part of a whopping $2.5 billion the country holds in unpaid debts to energy suppliers alone. So this also talks about the fact that Ghana and Somalia. Ghana, I enjoyed democracy for a very long time. At this point, come expect your economy, it's brand, but the United Kingdom $256 million. Extension of 15 years. It's also the an American independent power producers. $261 million a year dollars. And also liabilities are it has been underwritten by the US taxpayers' money. It is part of a whopping $2.5 billion the country holds in unpaid debts to energy suppliers alone. And yes, these are some of the reasons among for whom they say no, we shouldn't. I mean, the UK government shouldn't even continue to support Ghana. So I say one must question the common sense, let alone the economic case of lending the country more. That becomes even more questionable when Ghana's current government has begun demolishing the pillars of law and democracy on which the country's good standing was built. I mean, or mind be say bosia, abra, you say, the government Nankasa was starting with the pillars of democracy, the pillars of law of the democracy on which the country's good standing was built. Ɔman no ne nyina so nyina a democracy no yɛde mmara ɛna bu ɔman no ne nyina yɛ ba aban ne ba yɛ no was start here obubu all these the higher pillars are a democracy no yɛn was President John Dramani Mahama took office in January for a second non-consecutive term. Since then, Ghana has taken a far leftward anti-democratic turn. Wielding lawfare against his political opponents, he has bent the law to protect his own. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court was dismissed based on a petition that was never made public. Half a dozen more compliant justices have since been appointed to the same bench. Scores of legal cases against members of President's own party, many related to serious fraud and a major banking collapse, have been dropped. And yes, I'll say President John Dramani Mahama will take office. No, I say he has turned into an anti-democratic run, and or they started odibu on mine with the fact that we Chief Justice, you know, at the free hall with a petitioner. Most of the people of Ghana no munim hoshe, and no any asema or the air to. Now, I'll say this approach should come as a no surprise from a leader who is both a socialist and a Soviet sympathizer. His autobiography, My First Coup d'etat, is partly set in Russia, a country where he studied and by his own account found quite agreeable. Mahama even took time out of last year's election campaign to launch the book's Russian edition in Moscow. Since returning to the presidency, he has made his mark on international affairs by opening an opinion article, The Guardian, attacking Elon Musk and Donald Trump over South Africa. Especially President John Dramani Mahama Nibuka or Lanche, My First Coup d'etat. A Russian version of it. Or call Lanche, Moscow. And I was also an article, The Guardian. I know so attack Elon Musk and Donald Trump over South Africa, or more genocide and also with attacks on the whites. Or say, but it is lawfare against the opposition that should most concern the moneylenders in London. The most high-profile attack has been against Ken Ofori-Atta, the previous administration's former finance minister. Ofori-Atta is nothing if not a Western man, educated at Yale and Columbia Universities. He went on to work at Morgan Stanley and Salomon Brothers before founding his own investment bank. He became one of Ghana's best-known and most successful international business leaders. Entering national politics only in middle age and certainly not for money, he went on to oversee major economic reforms of the banking system and steer the country through the strains of the pandemic over a period during which Ghana's GDP per capita nearly doubled. Yes, also the attacks, the major one is on Ken Ofori-Atta. And in this write-up, and I said this particular paragraph, or Ken Ofori-Atta Baso, with the fact that or banking cleanup, on one and a finance minister during the COVID pandemic, our chess or born home modern pa Ghana's GDP per capita, it's nearly doubled any time as finance minister. Only days after Mahama's return, the state turned on Ofori-Atta. Lurid accusations flew, followed by demands for his return to Ghana to face questioning. His home was raided. A special prosecutor branded him a fugitive from justice. U.S. authorities were said to be processing an extradition request. Even an Interpol red notice was reportedly issued to extract him from the United States, where he was allegedly hiding. Except he wasn't. Ofori-Atta was in the United States receiving cancer treatment. Meanwhile, the military and police had entered his home in Ghana, apparently without a warrant. No extradition request was ever made to Washington. The special prosecutor has since admitted as such. Nor were there any indictments. The special prosecutor has never passed charges, raising the question of whether Ghanaian authorities misled Interpol into issuing the red notice, which in law can only be applied after formal charges has been brought. Na che se ha no yen share dan fa all those alleged charges e wo hono ma ye dia bodo no with all these extradition yen fa nemra Ghana Interpol red notice ni ade nyina no, there is no backend charges a ye dia back extradition any say Interpol red notice a ye de to ni sunu nyina, in as much as se papa yi be to dwa se mpo owo eye the United States a o hwe no ho yare no a police for the army Yoko. I mean, all these people on the charges about no ko ni fie eko search honey and they raided his home abra no war a year US na osa ne ho yare. Nearly a year later, only salacious accusations have been made against Oforiatta, primarily about sign off on spending in government departments outside the finance ministry. It is the equivalent of expecting the hold Chancellor Rachel Reeves, personally responsible for every single individual line item of spending in the Department of Culture, Media and Sports, or the Atomic Energy Agency, or the Passport Office. Or see, nearly after about a year, yen share down far and same be mono at the finance ministry. Then mono and some idea about other government institutions, and I say departments, it is outside the finance ministry. This is what the article is telling us. Also, it seems self-evident these attacks are underway because Ghana's current leadership perceive Oforiatta, a man possessing presidential bearing, as a potential serious challenger at the next election, should he go down that path. This is no way to run a democracy. Indeed, it is questionable whether the rule of law is still functioning when such a stark case of political persecution is unfolding, and whether international businesses can still rely on the legal security of their investments in Ghana. Yes, now it seems sa attack here the eba Ken Oforiatta so ni nyina say I say Ken Oforiatta or presidential ambition or wetin be the president dachi enunti ena the current NDC government o ma start here omode sa accusations we nyina dey bo the former finance minister Ken Oforiatta. Or say, as for the British taxpayer, questions should be asked about whether this debt assistance amounts to good money being thrown after bad. Every British government should, of course, support British businesses working abroad, but there are simple calculations. Is there the rule of law? Is the legal system sufficiently independent? What are the chances of getting the money back? The answers are obvious, even to those of us who are not government economists. Ghana under Mahama is a bad port of call for Britain's global re-engagement policies. Matt Wadley is the managing director of Okapi Train. He has managed security operations in Nigeria, Libya, and elsewhere in Africa. And yes, what this particular article is talking about, some kind of a warning. Why would the British government throw in their support, re-engage with Ghana when we have a president or a government that is in the first place, according to the article, in the first place is doing anti-democracy. It is running a government that is full of anti-democracy. Almost also ejina, and I say they have or they sympathize with the Russian government, citing President John Dramani Mahama. Even at a point, almost say hompo no kwaje nintiti okosku akra ho ema ehwan so during the campaign for the 2024 elections, President John Dramani Mahama, now it was alleged, said France Libya is coming from the Russian, coming from Russia. And Emma Omuhune said the UK, a taxpayer should question this kind of funding and our supporter. Yeah, they Ghana say, is it worth it? Is it legal? Is it good? Say, Sika eba Ghana have from the United Kingdom. No, are we going to get it back? Some of these underwritten projects are also from the UK. Also, Ghana ha amount no say yefane say yetimi atete so ama Ghana no. I mean, yes. these are some of the calls these people are not really happy with the supporter Ghana and I say UK Ghana this particular country. So that is the article, and I said the warning now. The people of UK ankasa omo ebiso omo said the taxpayers' money the air supporting the Ghanaian government, is it worth it? Here simple extension yi omo ebema the country Ghana. And this is the article that we are giving you the update on it. The emamo juma dine so. And this is the update today on Pinaxtv. A free Matt Wadley the heat piece on the Telegraph or the Abba. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people are passing in their comments.